didn't want to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it because this is by the subscribers. They want to talk about, will the Detroit Lions, do you believe the Detroit Lions would trade for Odell Beckham Jr.? Well, you already know my opinion, but we're going to go through it anyways and talk about the what-if scenario. Let's begin. What is going on, YouTube, and welcome to Detroit Lions Talk with MicroMike. We talk all things Detroit Lions news, rumors, analysis, breakdown, and everything regarding our franchise. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the Odell Beckham rumor, trade, everything going on with this guy because we keep hearing him coming up with the Detroit Lions. Now, initially, I did not want to talk about this because, in personal opinion, I don't believe he's going to be coming to Detroit. With that said, it's by popular choice. A lot of subscribers ask me on every single show. So I'm going to break down what it would cost, the ups, the downs, everything regarding if the Detroit Lions decided to look in this direction. But before we get in this video, if you're not a subscriber, smash that subscribe button. Let's get to 14,000 subscribers, and I think we can do so here with your help. Also, smash that like button. Let's get to 200 likes in this video. The controversial player, none other than Odell Beckham Jr. Look, he's got talent, but now he's coming up in trade discussion, so let's get into it. So a little bit of a profile of Odell Beckham Jr. here. He is 5'11", 198 pounds. He is 28 years old, went to LSU in the first round, 12th pick to the New York Giants. Obviously, he was traded to the Cleveland Browns, and his stats last year were not that much. As we look at his stats, he only had 23 receptions, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an average of 13.9. Why is it like that? Obviously, it's because of his injury history. We know he's very talented. He can get separation. He can catch the contested catches. He's got all the talent in the world for a #1 wide receiver, but health was the issue last year. So what would it cost for the Detroit Lions to acquire his services to get Odell Beckham Jr.? In my personal opinion, what do you guys think? Should the Detroit Lions decide to trade for Odell Beckham Jr., would you approve? Do you want Odell Beckham Jr. here for the Detroit Lions? It's going to be under the pinned comment. The pinned comment is the comment that I'm going to pin, and I want to hear from you. Why for yes and for no? Do you want Odell Beckham Jr. to be traded to the Detroit Lions? It would probably cost a 2022 third-round draft pick for the Detroit Lions. If you look what they're probably getting back for Kenny Golladay, it would be a third-round draft pick. So, in a sense, you could be getting Odell Beckham Jr. for Kenny Golladay. What does it mean getting him? What would be the positives and the negatives to get Odell Beckham Jr. to be part of the Detroit Lions? Well, there is many positives and there's many negatives to this situation. We're going to start with the negatives first. First, Odell Beckham Jr. has a major injury history. He gets injured quite a bit, and that's vital to understand if you're going to give up a third-round draft pick for a player. Will he stay on the field? If you look at the current wide receivers for the Detroit Lions, we're talking about Tyrell Williams, who has an injury history, Rashard Perryman as well. Players the Lions already have an injury history with, and you're getting a player with a nice contract that comes with it. The draft capital that you're going to give up would essentially probably be a third-round draft pick. It could even be a second, but I'm thinking third, and that's quite a high draft pick for a player who has an injury history, who is also a diva. We've seen it many, many times when he is playing the games, getting in a fight with other players, talking about his hair, getting mad on the sidelines. He is definitely a guy that wants the football, something that the Lions may not want to have for this rebuild/retool mode. The long-term success of the Detroit Lions, it may hinder that. Why? Because he is a diva. Draft capital, injury history. When you're in a rebuild/retool mode, you don't want to have a question mark like that. You want to utilize your draft capital on players you feel is going to have a long-term success for the team. He's 28 years old. that may not be the long-term success goal of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. The Lions are trying to build a culture here in Detroit. The culture is a tough, physical, no-nonsense football team. Having a diva wide receiver may not fit with what they're trying to build here for the long-term culture change of Detroit. They want guys who'll come to work with the blue pale, everything that resolves of Detroit. That's what you think of. So with those 5 situations there, that would be a net negative for bringing Odell Beckham to Detroit. But there is positives as well. He is a major playmaker. He can catch with one-arm catches, with one-hand catches. He can get his feet in bounds. The guy makes big-time plays in big situations, and having that with the Lions offense would be vital towards winning football games. Subscribe to the channel. I am almost at 14,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can get there. We're going against the legacy media, no doubt about it, and so the more subscribers we get, the more views, and the more chance that this content can get out there, and we, as Lions fans, can get our voice heard. The Lions wide receiver core is in a world of hurt. It is not the strongest for the Lions. Yes, they got none other than Amon-Ra St. Brown in the NFL draft, who is a long-term option for the Lions. They got also young Quintez Cephas, but when you look at Tyrell Williams, Brashard Perriman, and the other wide receivers they acquired this offseason, we're talking about one-year deals with possibly ineffective for the Lions in the 2021 NFL season. So they need that help, so getting him would bolster that core up. The offense needs help as a whole, and I'm not just talking about the wide receiver core, but if you want the running game to really be effective, you got to have a passing attack that's somewhat of a threat. Doesn't mean you actually got to pass it all the time, but it forces the defenders to place their top priority cornerback on a top flight wide receiver like Odell Beckham Jr. When you have individuals game planning for one specific player, it opens up the lanes for the running game, it opens up lanes for the tight ends, and it helps out the offensive line and offense as a whole. When it comes to Odell Beckham Jr., he's 28 years old. He's actually in the prime of his career. He has a lot of success ahead of him if he can stay healthy. Getting a wide receiver who is a number 1 guy who's in the prime of the career for a 3rd-round draft pick could be a massive positive for the Lions, and he is a number 1 wide receiver. No doubt about it. Point blank, period. He is a number 1 guy that defenses must focus on, and it would give Jared Goff a outstanding option for going aerial in the Lions' pass offense. Overall, I think when it comes to Odell Beckham Jr. coming to Detroit Lions, I honestly don't believe they're going to do it, and I wouldn't recommend it right now for the Detroit Lions. I just feel they're in a rebuild/retool mode. You take the capital that we do have for next year and the following year and utilize it on young up-and-coming players. You can find players in the draft. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round, so utilizing a 3rd-round draft pick or potentially more could really hinder that concept of getting younger and bringing a player who is a Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, culture-building player for the Detroit Lions. If you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, this guy is motivated. He had 15 wide receivers taken above him, and he really wants to show out. When you have a player such as Odell Beckham Jr., he very much could be a diva, and it could hurt the dynamics that we're building in Detroit. I think also with his injury history, to me, that is shaky when giving up draft capital. It wouldn't be a 1-year deal. It wouldn't be a signing a free agent off the street where it's not going to affect the team going forward. You're giving up future capital, future players, or a roster for a guy who could potentially not even be playing due to his injury history. With that said, I do expect multiple teams, not just the Detroit Lions, to actually explore it if Cleveland does decide to want to move Odell Beckham Jr. Again, he is an elite wide receiver. He's a number 1 guy, and he has a lot of positives to him. In all honesty, I said it in my live podcast, I would rather trade for an Odell Beckham Jr. than a Julio Jones because he's younger, and I feel like he has more years ahead of him, unlike a Julio Jones, who is at the end of his career, even though Julio Jones has got a better dynamic of personality, not a diva, like a Odell Beckham Jr. With that said, I still think it's good for the Lions to hold on to their capital and continue to build through the NFL draft. That's how you build a football team the correct way. It may take a little bit of time, but if you want to be a good football team, build through the draft. Smash that like button. The more likes we get, the more chance that this specific video gets out there. And just like I always say, we're going against the legacy media, and with this video getting out and more views, guess what, folks? We're competing against the big dogs who don't like us at all. They don't like our city. They don't like our team. And we can get our voice heard with the video getting out there. In the upcoming videos, we got the OnePride podcast on my channel at 6:30 p.m. EST. It is a fun, interactive show. We have the mailbag segment where you got questions. We have answers. And it's not just myself. It's the panel as well. Every single Thursday at 6:30 p.m. EST. Also, I drop videos every single day. Literally every single day. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the latest news and rumors regarding our Detroit Lions.